Okay, so the Duracells have discharged and we have got 944, 947, 903 and 922. And this is the kind of result I expected. I wasn't expecting any AAAs to go over 1.5 amps of discharge. So let's have a look at that. If it lights up, so that was when it gives us the result 922, 947, 903, 944. So they've been written down in the notebook and we'll take an average of those. So having done those, I noticed the voltage has recovered slightly. So in actual fact they could have a little tiny bit of power left, but we're going to do like for like and they'll get one discharge each. So let's move on to the Energizer Max. Energizer Max. Let's see what happens with those. Apart from dropping them on the floor. It's supposed to. Oh, there we are. That took some recognising. This version memorises the settings that you've got, and our earlier versions, which I showed you at the beginning, don't do that. So there could be an advantage on this newer type. On the other hand, it doesn't have the cycle function. Right, so we'll leave those to brew and we'll see what happens in about 10 hours. So that's those batteries come to an end. What was that? The Energizer ones, wasn't it? So let's see what they've done. Let's have a look. Slot. So we've got, go for the first slot. $861. Next slot, 848. Next slot, 845. Next slot, 867. We'll do the averages later, but they're not in the 940s that they were on the Duracell, so they clearly weren't quite as brilliant. So I'll take those out. I must get a receptacle for all these. And I really like the Gold Peak batteries, but I might be totally wrong in really liking the Gold Peak batteries, so we'll do those next. Right, so a few hours later, let's see how we're doing with the GP batteries, the Gold Peak batteries that are now discharged. So we've got 990 milliamps. What else have we got? 975, 981 and 983. You know what? That beats Duracell ones we started with. That beats the Duracell Plus. So that's the Gold Peak Ultra. So again, I haven't done the averages, but this is all around the 980s, 990. The Energizer was all around the 845, 850, and the Duracell was all around 940. So that's quite a revelation, isn't it? I always did get on with them, as I said. Now we'll go over for another type of battery. Now these are the Kodak branded ones, are done by our local, well, 7 miles from me because I'm in the middle of nowhere, pound shop. So at the moment we're getting 5 for £1. Probably makes them quite a good deal if they last. And we seem to be using these quite a lot, but I don't know what the quality is, you see. Oops, bumped into camcorder. Okay, so the Kodak batteries are now done. So we'll make a note of those. Let's see what we've got. 977, 976, 964 and 975. So that is now, looks like second. So Gold Peak at the moment's first, and Kodak's second, and Duracell's third. Right, we'll take those out. Let's see how the Philips batteries fare. Right, that's the Philips ones done. So let's have a look. 894, 912, 920, and 877. So that's better than Energizer, so it's second to the bottom at the moment. Energizer's at the bottom and Philips is the next worst. Right, we'll swap those. I think we'll do the Maxell ones next. They give me the impression that Maxell were once a great tape manufacturer and it could well be just a bought name these days. So I may be wrong, they may be fantastic, and that's what we're here for. Right, so that's another set of batteries discharged, that's the Maxells. So make a note. So we've got 922, 920, 889 and 907. So that looks, ooh, that looks better than Philips, but under Duracell and therefore under Gold Peak. Right, so I'll put those in the receptacle. We'll move on to the aerosols, which Mr. Chippy will tell me are either Aldi or Lidl. It's Lidl. Okay, so the next morning the next set of batteries have come off, and these were the Lidl aerosols. So let's have a look what we've got. 1110, 1114, 1095, 1102. Well, our best previous was 990 with Gold Peak, and now our best is 1114 with the Lidl own brand aerosols. Wow! And when you compare that to the best Duracell, which was 947, and that was Duracell the 50% extra life, it was the plus version, it wasn't just any Duracell. So we'll get rid of those. And whilst we're on German supermarkets, we'll move over to the Active Energy. Now those aerosols worked out at 20, no, let's have a think, it was 8, yeah, it was 8 for £2, 1.99, so it's effectively 25 pence each. These are cheaper. These are the Active Energy from Aldi, and these ones are still 1.99, but you get 10, so that's 20 pence each, which is the same kind of price as what those Kodak ones were. So let's have a look what we can, if I can even open the packet. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. One. 2. 3. And 4. There we go. Right, so now we've done with the Active Energy, and we've got some really good figures, just like with the little ones, probably come out of the same factory. So let's have a look. Slot 1, 1044. Slot 2, 1044. Slot 3, 1040. Slot 4, 1036. So they're very consistent with each other. Good, so that's another one done. So that's 2 better ones than Duracell. 3 better ones than Duracell. Right. So now we'll move on to, we've got these from one of the wholesalers, the Pro-Elec. I don't know whether they are supposed to be aimed at business use or what, but it was a trade wholesaler, so we'll see whether these are any good. So the Pro-Elec Ultras have finished, and these look like the worst so far. Let's have a look. 863, 797, 825, 843. So I'll just go back and see if that compares with any of the others. The previous worst one was the Energizer, which were quite expensive. Well, this is going to be interesting when we work this out. Yeah, these are the worst so far. So now we'll move on to the RS Pro. These are only available to the electronics trade. Okay, so that's the RS ones. So I'll put RS Pro. So we've got 908, 905, 890 and 906. So what does that bring us in par with? More like the Philips ones. Okay. And then finally, it's the ProCell. These Mallory, these are Duracell for the professional user. Okay, so we're now on the final ones. They're finished. They don't look that promising. I'll just make a note that it's the Pro Cell. And let's have a look. 723, 797, 854 and 788. So I'll just look back at the notes. Oh, they look like they're the worst ones. Glad we kept the worst ones till last. Right, well that concludes it. I'll go and do some maths and then we'll tell you what's what. But it looks like the Aldi and the Lidl ones win on the actual capacity available and therefore the value for money. So, tell you the figures. And there's a view out of the back workshop Mr. Chippy uses, looking towards the, but well, I say we're in the middle of nowhere with the river running through the garden. Right, so to conclude, what did we come up with? If I can actually sit down and join the camcorder. Ugh. I'll just move the viewfinder so I can actually make sure it's in shot. So this is how many milliamp hours. So 1000 milliamp hours is 1 amp. So we discharge them all in the same way as you saw at 100 milliamp load, and when the machine said it was finished, it was finished. You know, you could go and put them on again and get a few more milliamps. I've just done them all the same way. Now, as a reference, we did the rechargeable ones, and they worked out at what was it? 899 milliamp hours out of 950. That was our reference. So 950 milliamp hour batteries. We'd charged them and discharged them 3 times so they weren't fresh out of the packet, and then we discharged them and found they were 899 out of 950, which is fine. And they were the ones that came from Lidl, whatever make that was. Oh, here they are. The Tronic Energy. These were pre-charged ones. I never got on with pre-charge. Anyway, that was just as a reference. So the Philips ones delivered 901 milliamp hours. The Maxell ones gave 910 milliamp hours. The Kodak ones were 973 milliamp hours. The GP Gold Peak ones, which I've always got on with, were 982 milliamp hours. The Energizer expensive things were 855 milliamp hours, and those Duracell ones with the 50% extra were 927. Then the Aerocell from Lidl, and I can find the packet. Now, we haven't thrown it away, I know we haven't, but it's not on here, were 1105, so 1.105 amps, which is, we weren't expecting that. And then the active energy from Aldi, so they were the little ones, these are the Aldi ones, the active energy ones, they come in an 8-pack, they come in a 10-pack, were 1041 milliamp hours. The ProElec ones, which we got from our wholesaler CPC, were 832 milliamp hours. The RS Pro ones, which we got from the wholesaler, of course, RS, were 902 milliamp hours. And finally, the Duracell Pro Cell, which are not cheap, was 791 milliamp hours and were the worst. And we've got those figures by averaging out, and you know, they were all much of a muchness. There were no, I mean, 878 on our rechargeable one, to 908 being the best. But when we got to the Gold Peak, they were very, very similar figures. and with the little ones 1044, 1044, 1040, 1036, really well matched. So that's where we are at. So the winner of milliamp hours was the little ones, which is the Duracell, and if I can just find one in our bin of done with batteries, was that one of the Pro Elect. Mr. Chippy's probably waltzed off with what's left of them. That's the active energy one. Anyway, you saw it the first time round. So that gave us the second graph, which was the cost per battery. So the Duracell battery, this is per, you know, when you've divided out the number you get in a pack. And remember, we bought these. We bought the. I'll tell you where we bought them all from, and then it's fair, because you can obviously do better pricing than I can by shopping around. But we bought Gold Peak, the Pro Elect, the Philips, the Energizer, the Maxell, all from CPC, the wholesaler. We bought the Duracell Power Plus and the ProCell and the RS Pro from RS Components. And of course the aerocells had to come from Lidl, the Active Energy had to come from Aldi, and the Kodak ones came from our local £1 bargain shop. One of those shops where everything is £1 and they come in a pack of 5. So that's how we've come out with this. So the most expensive one was the Duracell, which we ended up paying £1.33 per battery for. So there we come finally with the cost per amp hour. So I thought the fairest way to do this was to work it out, the cost, make sure that's in shot properly, per amp hour. So this is where the truth is. We already know that the little one was the best battery performance wise, and we know the ProCell from Duracell was the worst performance. So the most expensive per amp hour, at a whopping £1.33 per amp hour, is the Duracell. Compare that to the Aldi one, not the little one. The Aldi one was the best value at 19 pence per amp hour. We've got 23 pence per amp hour at the little one with the Aerosol, which was the best performing battery. And then as we've got the Kodak one from the pound shop, works out at 21 pence per amp hour. And then we move up to the Maxell at 34 pence per amp hour. The Philips at 42 pence per amp hour. The RS Pro at 51 pence per amp hour. The Pro Elect, we've missed Gold Peak out, also at 51 pence. So that and the RS Pro were the same value. Then we've got the Pro Elect at 64 pence per amp hour, the ProCell from Duracell at 90 pence per amp hour, the Energizer at 95 pence per amp hour, and then this £1.33 per amp hour. So if you're looking for your amp hours, if you went to Aldi and say that was 20, say that was, you're getting 1 amp hour for 19 pence, you're getting 1 amp hour for £1.33. And we've always bought the Duracell ones to do those walkie-talkie tests. When I've sent Mr. Chippy on a field test, we've always filled them up with the Duracell ones, thinking we were doing the right thing. We weren't. We should have gone, in actual fact, if we want the best possible performance, we should be going for the little one. But not far behind the Active Energy from Aldi. So I was surprised over the Kodak. You think, oh, it's going to be rubbish, it came from the pound shop. Not so. So yeah, I was happy that our Gold Peak favourite was okay, but it's twice the cost of those. So I hope that is interesting. And you should all be now queuing at Aldi and Lidl to go and buy their batteries, because that's what we found. We'll go back to the milliamps charge. So the best possible, if you want a fit and forget battery, it's going to be the little one. If you like changing a lot, it's going to be the Duracell ProCell. So thank you for watching the long-winded AAA Alkaline battery test. And remember, these are AAA, not AA, because we wanted to do a test so we could use our brother printers more efficiently. Thank you for watching.